Alrighty, so this is going to probably be a bit of a weird video because I'm going to most likely be all over the place. But I don't know. I didn't plan anything. I'm just jumping in. So, I was thinking about Star Wars, and then I eventually went like, whatever. Mostly just because it's just, just a thing. There's the video with Jenny or whatever the fuck that was. Which, great 4-hour video, loved it, but like again, that actually has nothing to really do with what it is I'm about to talk about. So we're going to talk about how the observable universe created in a large amount of different areas, which to us is going to look very odd, because it means that space has been created. First light, right? At least posited, Big Bang Theory stuff, right? What that means, however, as my dog decides to slurp on a bunch of water, is that it's like, okay, wait, but that's actually not really fully the case. That light, because we accelerated, technically speaking, thanks to how that, level of density of matter here that's existing, and how fast, inflation was going, we accelerated faster than light, in a very real sense. Except that wouldn't be very realistically like something a lot of people would call it. What we did is we traveled faster than light in a workaround. The standard workaround stuff of like bending of space and time shit, right? So that means that we're actually further than what our observable light is. Although because it happened everywhere all at once, a good way to imagine this is we're doing both the inward direction and outward direction in a very odd manner, which is how it is that we get curvature of space and time to where it is we look like we actually traveled further than we should have before light could get there, right? Which is the only reason why I'm talking about this in a kind of like, this kind of all over the place sort of way, all right? Basically, it means that our observable light that we're about to, eventually get to the point of seeing, the first real stuff, right, is not the real full picture of the universe's total size, right? That our light will never get past where that point is that we're looking at, which is such an odd thing and a crazy thing to say and such a crazy thing to think. Except actually that's sort of how our current physics lines up with what that is. Which is such a cool thing, actually. It's like we're actually past our observable point. You know what I mean? But like everything is, all at once. Right? That's standard. There is no actual center to a universe kind of thing. Except it isn't quite like that. But, that's neither here nor there in terms of singularities and blah, 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 and how space-time and all things exist and expand, from that one singular point thing, except that meant that we actually expanded from that, point outward from the point of initial expansion, which is how inflation tends to look, which is an odd thing to say. But then when you think about tunneling and everything, then you end up thinking about the inflation and curvature of the density of space-time, thanks to the amount of gravitational force here going on. Then, of course, it starts looking more and more plausible that we are looking actually at a singularity as an outside observer while we're sitting inside of it. Cool thing, right? It's such a weird thing to imagine, right? But it's like, that's exactly what we're doing. We are looking at a singularity while we're inside of the singularity that we're trying to look at. Mind-bending stuff. But that's actually how that would work for us. Okay, that, and it means that light that's over there, that's past that observable, we cannot see until we're past the observable point, which is a weird concept for us, right? Like, this is a very what the fuck, and you would have to travel a certain distance to be able to see that light. Crazy, right? But it's like, that's all the things, not just our observable currently, that's past that observable in all those directions all at once. Not to mention, we end up having things that didn't accelerate quite as quickly and things did accelerate faster, right? Which means those are different wave function shifts of speed. Instead of parallels, though, they're actually the real full definition of the true 3D universe that really exists for us versus the 3D that we currently observe. An odd thing to say and an odd thing to know. All of our tests line up with it. The more and more we look back, the more and more we see that that's absolutely what we're seeing. Which is really cool and wicked to think about. But it's also the definition of why we have a causal set theory where it just, and it's in. You know what I mean? Like, why you'd want to believe that, because, like, conceptually speaking, it's really hard to imagine, as my dog tosses bones around and shit, how it is we flipped the script. We didn't do time dilation, we didn't do any of that. We actually moved faster. Like, we basically made compression of space and time here, and then we moved faster outside of that. Light started happening, you know, to finally catch up to our travel speed as we slowed down. And, you know, then you end up getting the cool part of what it is that we now see. So, like, when we say that we're trying to see the Big Bang, we're actually saying that we're showing off a definite experiment and constantly validating example of faster than light travel being able to happen. It's no longer really much of a theory, but no one really ever says that out loud. But, like, that's actually what we're observing. We're constantly observing this on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? Everywhere we look, it's like, hey, wouldn't you know it? Turns out that is going further backwards. There's no way for that to work. That's not really possible. You think about that? You know what I mean? But it's like, the reason why a lot of people go, it's possible because we're looking back towards the singular point. It should just get brighter and brighter and wider and wider. There should be no space. All you're seeing is space, though. So, wrong again, you know. That standard problem of like, no, we want to, why? Because it's getting more concentrated towards a singular point. That's the point of that, yeah. But it's like, there's a bunch of physicists and angry people and, you know, fighting. Somebody really ever says what that is that we're currently observing, we all go, no, we're just looking this way. It's nothing like this, none of that, no. And we all go along with that, but in reality, the fact of the matter is that doesn't really make much sense. Like, clearly there's got to be a way for this to exist, and the Big Bang actually had an inflationary period, which, even if we modify that, it doesn't work very well, right? So, if we know about that, then it's like, what we're seeing is light catching up to us. That's how backwards that seems to be to most people's consistent, intuitive line of thinking, logic stuff. Counterintuitive to that, we are seeing backwards. That's the point, right? So, an odd thing to say and see and think. However, it's not actually that odd. We've just been observing it the entire time. We just never really called it for what it was. Outside of the observable, there is the same thing that we are, just over there, that never managed to get that light back to the observable. Because we were further than it, faster than it happened to appear, I guess, in a sense. You know, that's the catch there. We didn't really technically do that. We still made light happen during that moment of expansion. We won't be able to observe that very easily. And the only reason why is because you have to get that far towards the observable, you know, physically, to see that. Which is such an mind breaker in a lot of ways. It's like no, you know, and it's like it's curvature to a degree, yes, but it's also the fact that we're technically emitting light in a way that doesn't come out other than as a massive blue shift over a very much longer period of time, because of course time is in that way finely curved and dilated, or whatever version you want to go with. Elongated, compressed, space-time, there's a lot of different ones on that one too. But I don't really care how you phrase it. It doesn't mean that space really did anything except for compress, and we didn't travel such that we went backwards in time. We actually went continuing forward, and we just sped up a little bit, close to the speed of light, while everything was already doing that. And of course, physics is going to be physics, so that meant, well, we would eventually start slowing down and expressing light again, right? But that other light from the beginning is that same kind of phenomenon, right? Where it's like that beginning part, right, is really the only light that we're going to see as they're observable, except, of course, there was light previous that we're starting to notice as that kind of a weirdism, right? It's a good way to put that, because weirdism is weird. I call them weirdism because that's exactly like the best way to put them. They're weird quirks of physics, and I like weird quirks of physics. You know what I mean? So while we go backwards viewing that, we're not viewing ourselves, right? We know that things changed over time. We know that we're observing light having changed. We're observing literally like the scrubbing of a YouTube scroll bar, basically. And we're looking further and further back, right? It's like that's our observable, right? It's like it's not, though. That's the problem. Like our observable is not that. We're going to a singular point, sure, of where that light that finally got to this point is. Okay? But that light in no way is actually really going to be this singular point. And we know that. So we go, instead, it's non-express light, right? Which we're seeing with the James Webb Telescope here. It's functionally impossible for that to be the case, as there are black holes there and quite a bit more. So, when we know about that, then you go, wait, and then we had to have this level of expansion in the beginning of this? How the hell does that work? How did you get this fucking shit to happen? How does that happen? What's going on here? Wait, no. Wait, what? The middle became 2 because, of course, expansion necessitates equal opposite. Right? So that's the problem, right? But it can't compress, it's singular. Right? It's the little tiny, it can't go, it's not doing that. It's already doing the thing, so it's not. Right? So what does it do? It goes, yeah, but what if I were to just over to here? And then like this goes like, what the and wouldn't you know it, we basically get the version of a tunnel, right? It crossed an energy barrier in a way, which, by the way, lines up with a lot of our quantum mechanics and physics. Right. However, this is the caveat here, because it's like the expansion is not what we're talking about. That's the first weird beginning. The weird beginning of formation of universe. There was nothing to expand into. Inflatons be inflatons, I don't care. Something has to be there for you to get to. So the center gets taken and it makes it so that way there's an outside. Standard stuff. Well, it can now get to that, and it now consumes that. As that does that, of course, it can't really do the thing that we're talking about. Of course, right? It's like it wants to accelerate to that, right? But it sees this as being a resistive force because this thing used to be there. That's a vacuum force. Okay? How does a vacuum force ultimately accelerate us? Have you ever think about that? Well, let's talk about that real quick. The vacuum force needs to push a bunch of other shit around to create a less thing, thing that's less, for it to go into. There has to be motion to initially be there for it to even go to that point. And if you know what this means, it's like, well, that energy barrier is still what it is. Right? It's the very thing that's starting to expand. Right? So this stuff that's there, which they go, it's inflatons. No, it's not. Shut up. But vacuums are weird, because we're talking about space and time that doesn't really exist in a way that we'll ever conceptualize. That's the problem for a lot of us. We think about everything in these, simple 3D manner of things, right? Because like that's not what that is. The inside is both the outside at the same time right now. That's literally the case. That's what we're observing right now. So as that goes through, right, its transition fades. As it technically didn't really accelerate, didn't do anything. It just existed there, right? But it didn't really, right? No, of course, it does. It has to exist there. Something has to be there, right? So what does a vacuum force do? It goes, well, wait a second. What if I was also already there? What if I energy buried my ass out? See what I mean? What if I just did that? What if I just made it so that way I existed there together with the little thing that you're trying to consume? Right? And so inflation started happening. Literally, it combined a empty and a, well, I used to be here, I'm the most solid you're fucking ever gonna probably get. When you're compressing and then condensing and then bleeding off and caloric cooling, I guess, you know, all of the energy as it expands. As you get deeper and deeper and deeper into that, you get, the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm already infinitely fucking small. Dunk. Yeah, where'd it go? Bonk. Where did that go? And wouldn't you know it, space and time compressed into that little area, right? The little expansion goes, and I'm actually here. I didn't have any space here, so I was already here. All the space went bye-bye. Went to there. And then it does it again, 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 does it again. Over and over and over and over and over. Rapidly. Cool stuff, right? But, you know what that does, though? No light. Lots of slamming, lots of mixing, lots of particle acceleration, and more. So everything's fundamental force field bullshit. So, wouldn't you know it, we get particles because they slam together hard enough, and they twist and they turn and they effectively do that. And wouldn't you know it, you now have a solid ball that stays. Cool stuff. Really interesting. Except it's not done yet. I know, crazy, right? But that's the problem with crazy. That's how truth is stranger than fiction, often, with physics, right? It's like it broke itself apart. Cool, except not really. It didn't do anything except combine itself to vacuum. You know what I mean? And, by the way, there's no space for it to create, right? Except, no, there's definitely space there. Just in a different sense. That inside is the version of space it had initially to expand into. That's the problem with a lot of what people don't like about the initial beginning of the Big Bang. There isn't a way for anything to move or do anything without something to do it with or into. See what I mean? So, obviously something was there. We just usually go like, what the fuck? I don't... Find it! Get out of here. Leave me alone. Right? But inflation then, even with modification, turns into, there's no fucking way it did that. Right? How the fuck did it inflate that fast? It's faster than light. It can't do that. Boop. Right? But it's like, no, really? Yes. That's the problem. You're not understanding, that big beginning would be bigger than our universe currently is. That observable, right, that we're going to look towards is nothing, effectively. And that first light will be basically nothing, and that first amount of gravity will be minuscule. Nothing to us. But for it was massive. It was way more significant then, So cool, but it's also the weirdest thing because it's we at the center came out first before the expansion, which then we get the light coming towards us as the expansion of the exterior. Which, by the way, shockingly, right, that is not us. We started putting out light after. Right? We don't notice that. How would you? You'd have to go past the observable to be able to see that we started light after the observable. It'd just be our light that we'd see every single day. We're not going to see it. Basic stuff. We're not going to notice. Why would we? It's right next to us. It's special relativity. It's right next to us. It's traveling the same speed as the rest of the light from the observable right now. So, at a Bluetooth pairing request from one of my neighbors at one of their apartment they're fucking doing. So, stop my recording. Super. Anyways, it's because the hearing aids here, I usually use my hearing aids as my microphone. But I'm gonna move on. It's really cool as a way for to describe why it is that we have constructive interference and why it is light that's that far and that redshifted would still be something that wouldn't be just, massively different, right? However, it's a little bit more complicated than that because we also have mass, we also have compression of space-time that helps blue shift things. Then we also still have regular, just standard constructive interference. Doesn't really matter after a point, okay? It's like we're only observing our standard observable universe, right? Right. And the further back we go, we just go backwards in time. And that's the telling part of this. The further back in time we go, we're not seeing what's currently really the real universe. You can't. Why would it ever catch up to you? You're getting it, right? It can't. But that's the weird part for the vast majority of people. We're looking backwards to this single point, and it's yes, no, but you see, yes, but also no. So it's we're looking backwards in time as it has to travel and do its job to relay information. Okay? But we're not going to see that which is there, not near the observable, which is also around in a similar context of space, right? That can never reach us, which is an odd thing, and you have to get towards the observable distance, observable universe distance, to be able to see it. Crazy, crazy thought, right? It's crazy, what the fuck, right? But it's then we get into Venn diagram stuff, which is bowls, effectively, or flat, depending on how you want to observe it. Because it's depending if you observe really, really far away, it starts to curve. Or if it never does that, then it's still flat, right? But it's we don't know. So let's go with ball, because most people can understand a Venn diagram when it's a ball. Okay, you're gonna have to deal with that. So as a result of that, then it's some of them mix together, some of them don't, some of them are fully further apart. And what we're gonna see with these little there's these little slight shifts of gravity, right? For these big, huge, massive observations. That's an obvious tell of us not seeing past the observable. Simple as that. Right? Cool stuff. And if you don't know about that, that's okay. You don't need to know about that. But that's what that is. Right? It's super interesting to me. As a guy that just likes to think about shit. But it's that is not another universe. That's our own universe influencing our own universe gravitationally. Cool shit. You can't see past the observable until you get past the observable. Past the universe of you've never gotten there. You have to get past to be able to see past. And you've never done it. You're only seeing your own individual universe being far more dense than you ever probably thought, along with, unfortunately, this one sucks, we are likely to never see it. Okay? And then the other one, other things accelerated faster, and some things didn't accelerate as fast. They are a wave function that exists among us, but they're not parallel. Same 3D, same area, same shit. They're just differently placed in 3D space. It's just different densities of and can't go with energy, but they're actually the same thing as us. They're just slower, I guess, in that sense. But a way to conceptualize it is an absolute zero is thermal, right? For us. However, speed is not the same thing. That's kinetic directional, right? Things all moving together, kinetic directional in an entropy manner and fashion, okay? Once you know that, then it's like, oh, shocker, there's something in all of these different directions moving, even counter to us. They're not even through us. Weird shit, right? How the fuck does that work? How are they not what the fuck? What? And I'm like, yeah, basically, honestly, yeah, because it's just instead of a different energy, different energy value like Dr. Amichika. No, there's no dimensions here. It's still the same dimension. Okay, nothing's changed on that. It's just directionality, and so directionality means different types of influence, and that's the thing with like densities in that sense. Okay, but also like as a result of that direction, it changes its properties and influence and interactivity and interference with us. As a result, it's a special relativity problem. You end up going, yeah, no, but it's never going to really ever reach us, because to us it looks like it's an infinite distance away. But it's not. And in fact, it's like right next to us. But you'll never notice it, because it doesn't ever do any of the things that interact, interfere, and anything, basically. There's no influence. But it's not superfluid, it's not any of that. It's just different property values, and it's different directions, and basic stuff, really, honestly. Which is such an odd thought. Right? Like, no, it has to be able to, like, why doesn't it? It's a hard one to fucking, like, put up as, like, an example. I can shine a light towards itself, and they do influence each other, right? But I can't do that with vacuums, effectively. A vacuum is tied to this. Doesn't matter that the force is there, the vacuum is still there. As a result, it means that there's nothing there for us to have rub or do the things that mean we can do something with it. So it's never a thing that we can do, And that's basically it. There's a space there that doesn't technically exist, but in a very real sense, it does. That also helps us with kind of conceptualizing why dark matter, dark energy tends to be much more weakly interacting and effectively have the type of energy and mass profile it seems to have, which is a type of vacuum that I talked about for my quantum thermodynamics in several of my different videos, as to why it is we accelerate and stay like calorically cooling ourselves in this kind of way that allows for us to stay seemingly with more gravitational mass and energy than we normally would have otherwise, and why we accelerate the way we do, as it tends to consume light and then elongate it. But also that's the other side of the anyways, point is, eventually we'll get there to the full thing, but I digress, because it's effectively what it is, and it's not very hard to understand why, especially when all of our observations are showing off that that's exactly what we're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, all of them say this is what's going on, which is such an really? My interpretation is totally different in every fucking way. No, fuck you. And I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't change what the truth is. Like, you're only observing the past. That is there is not something you see. You can't know it's there. Something could have moved in there, you're not going to see it. The more you happen to look further back, the less you see behind the light wall, so to speak. Which is a way to put it, because it's space-time as a diagram, except nothing really changed except continuation. But you have to realize that the space diagram is 3D, and it changed differently depending on a lot of different things, basically. So, cool way to conceptualize why it is like our observable is massively small. Like, our universe is way larger than we think, massively way larger, And it's far denser than we know. Far more energetic than we posited to even possibly be like. And it gets better. Then, if we were to eventually get to the point where we can see a little bit further out, not only just measure it, but then measure inwards, we can get better and better data for what that beginning really was, and if there ever was possibly a real center, which is more likely to be the case if in any aspect there's any kind of round. And I mean any round. If it's not 100% perfectly flat, then what we're dealing with is an entirely different thing. You'd end up having to go through all the different universes, which are really other universes. They're the same one, but different direction, blah blah stuff. And then you'd have to go like, well, the only reason why it looks flat is because I guess it decided that was the fastest way to do it. Because it doesn't make any other sense otherwise. Because it's still a point here. A point has no volume. A point has no dimension, round, any of that, right? But it's like, it can choose however it fucking wants to, lowest resistance-wise. And honestly, a sphere is still low resistance-wise. But so are flats. They're just less good in that sense, because it takes more energy to do a perfect flat, right? Like a really massive, large fucking round is, to us, gonna look like it's just flat. You know what I mean? Like, you'd have to go really far. And good luck with that, because what? You're only going backwards, and it's going to look flatter and flatter because of observational light. That's what that is. It's just going to look more and more towards a singular thing, and like you have to observe it with your three-dimensional, but it's a two-dimensional sort of observation, which means you're not going to be able to see that. That's the problem. Like, you're not going to be able to see any kind of depth or curve, because how could you? You're not above it, you're not around, you're not any kind of area outside. It will only look as a straight line, which makes it look flat. Doesn't mean that it's flat. It doesn't mean in any way that, like, the observations that you currently have are even bad. It just means that those observations are going to show that because you aren't there. You have to go that far. You see what I mean? Until then, it's a moot point for all astrophysicists and more. It would mean nothing. But it's like, our observations say this. I'm like, I don't give a fuck what they say. They're saying that, oh yeah, no, shocker, that's exactly what it should say. Suck it up. Like, literally. They're saying exactly what they should say for all of the fucking ways that this could really actually happen logically, even counterintuitively, and all the rest. That's the point. Okay? Which also kind of destroys causal set theory, which I use causal set theory math in some of my stuff. I don't use causal set theory's beginning at all. I never use that. I use big main. That's what that is. But, like, expansion is a weird one, because it's like, for us, it's going to look like we're heading inwards when we observe further back, right? But it's like, that's, it's not really what it shouldn't be, technically, right? I mean, it's more like we're looking at wiggles and jiggles that changed over time, which is an odd way to phrase it, but basically, yeah. We're looking at the changes of things, more or less than anything else, and what could have done that over different depths and fields of depths. Because big fields of gravitational wave of galaxies is kind of what that would be. But, moving on, we can't observe forward. That's the point I'm trying to make. Every fucking time you go, no, but we're seeing, you can't observe forward. You're not fourth dimensional, you little fucks. Stop it. You keep thinking you can observe that way, but you're always looking this way. The hallucination of you always thinking that you're in real time is also there for computers in all of your observations. You've only ever looked backwards. None of you can look forwards. You can try and plan based upon what you've seen in the past for the forward. You never see the forward. You don't see forward, you see backwards. Get it? You've only ever observed that the thing is this. You can't see the forward, which is this. Totally different thing. That light can never reach you, too, thanks to how it happened to start. Weird shit. See what I mean? Like, I get there, and it's all over the place. But boom, here you go. Basic shit. It's easy as fuck to understand, really. But, like, many people don't really kind of, what the fuck did you just say? You know what I mean? He's just boom, and, like, and you're just out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't, like, have an easier way to explain really simple, easy to understand stuff to even harder to understand things. I'm being a dick about it intentionally. I am. I know I am. Okay, like, but it's like, what do you want? I just explained it to you. Listen. Listen. You're only ever seeing backwards. You're only ever seeing a single point. You can only look backwards. You will only ever do that. Your observations of total that, size, that's not that. That's what's currently going through, from the beginnings point. And how it happens to be getting to us right now. That's it. That's all you've ever done. The big observable 93 whatever billion, you see? That's nothing. That's how big that really would have been on the outside as it expanded. Currently. Of course, it was smaller, right? But that outside still expands. See what I mean? That's the captured point of energy, of light, as it finally let it off. And that's expanding. The beginning expansion is all we're seeing. The 93 billion is expanding. Now do you kind of get it? Like, that point used to be far smaller, but that point is now this big. We'll only ever see that beginning observational point as the beginning of the universe. It is 93 billion years old. See what I mean? Or at least however light year or whatever, really realistically speaking, that turns into. We don't really fully know, apparently. So I have to get off of that one. But that's the size right now. And of course, however and wherever and decimal and all that, however much that expansion started, if it slowed, so on, guess what? You're measuring it. You get it? We don't know the real age, but like, here's a better way to get the age. Here's a real, actually decent way of getting the age. That observational size, that's small. That's not actually the real size. That's the area that started right now, and its current size. Far larger. We're far larger right now. Well, universe-wise. But like, that's what we're in. Okay? And that intersects at different weird places. Even for those other filled-in things. Which is an odd thing. And it's like, alright, so what's in the center? Is it empty? No, it's fully filled. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah. I just explained that a little bit earlier, but I had to go over it. Basically removed space and time being a thing in there, and so that's filled. Still expanding though. See what I mean? Still, boop. And if you know about that, then it's like, why would it be expanding? Because that's your area of first start, birth. There's likely to be another one behind us. There's likely to be another one in front of us. It's just constantly boom, 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 boom. Because why wouldn't it be? Would you know? Could you say that it's not? How could you tell? For everything for us, it's untouchable by any of that before, or any of that. But it wouldn't really matter. We're only talking about ours. Okay? Wouldn't really mean much for us. Especially since, even with that, we still get a many worlds and many universe. Right? Of course, it also means it might be we didn't get any of that. That's the scariest part. If that's the case, then what you're looking at is, it's just elongating out. It's not getting filled back in. It's just, and this jiggle turned into this, which is a big long jiggle. Which it's like, that's neat, but also it also means there's a big vacuum resistance. Not gravity, because there's no mass there. It means there's nothing there. So, field energy wise, something wants to be there. Can't really do that, so there's going to be an energy gap, which means, and it pops forward, right? Because, well, it can't. It's moving. It has mass. There's nothing there that's coming back that way. You see what I mean? Like, it's not going to overcome that. It has to literally arrest all motion, all momentum, all heat has to somehow happen, right? Immediately, at that point, that's going on. Which it's not going to do. You know what I mean? It's not going to go like, and I got suddenly massively cold and everything just suddenly stood and it's very unlikely to do that. So, considering entropy does do the whole, like, you know, thermodynamic, it could go backwards. Yeah, why doesn't it? Because it's a lot more likely to do that. Yes, it is, isn't it? Why is it? I don't. Fuck you. Oh, you don't know, huh? Seems like it's less chaotic. Seems like there's a lot more energy heading that way, and it's a lot easier to continue doing that than it is to go backwards and stop it. Isn't that Newton's type of thing, right? But no, but you shut the fuck up with your stupid physics bullshit. Little wussy pissant, you little fucker. Get over it. Get over it. Fucking have the mental breakdown and change, bitch. Jesus. Because that's what that is. It's like, guess what? Easy as fuck to understand. Super simple to know. It's obviously going to try and do an energy barrier, and it will tunnel, but it's also going to do a whole bunch of other whatever weird bullshit it tries to do to try and keep it going. Standard stuff. But it's like, where did this energy? Vacuum energy is still vacuum energy. That's the thing. Which means it draws from vacuum. Vacuum is not an energy. You don't get that, do you? Vacuum is absolutely an energy. It's not the energy of other things wanting to come there. That's the counterintuitive process of knowing about those kinds of physics. There's always going to be something that wants to go into that. Always. It will make something happen. Vacuum makes space. Something I talk about a lot, actually. So, it makes the space, right? But it doesn't make the space. It that it moved it back. You don't understand space-time going bye-bye tunnel elsewhere. How does space-time tunnel somewhere? Okay? How does that happen? Does it deconstruct it? Okay. Does it deconstruct it? We're cooking now. We're cooking. That's all we're doing. No, not really, but, like, you know, to be a dick about it, I don't have to be that much of a dick. You're right, it kind of does, it kind of doesn't. It's like fizzle fusion kind of stuff. That's what that would be. Which means heat, which means acceleration. Right, and that means, like, more things to go on. And if you know anything about quantum vacuum pressure accelerating us, then now you know why it does. Simple stuff. It's all quantum thermodynamic stuff. Pressure here, no pressure there. Pressure, no, here, I don't like that. You see, I can't. Yes, the thing does not like this. Why does it not like this? What is this? What's going on here? Why? Why do you not like this? Well, I need something here. Then make something there. I don't fucking know. What the fuck? What? What's the problem? How the fuck do I do that? How does this... Okay, give me membranes and potential end. All the way down to nothingness point. Potential land is a different type of land, by the way. Something I'm positive for a while. There's a membrane that exists, but on the other side, it's potentials, which is, you'll have to go through that old YouTube stuff. But that's what that is, and so it pulls it through, right? It's what you'd expect, right? No, it doesn't need to do any of that. What's here? Entropy. Resistance! Resistance is there. Your universe has a lot of resistance to continuing to become less entropically disorganized and chaotic. What shows up? Space and time. Which came from what? The resistance of all continuation of entropy heading towards it. Correct. It balanced itself out using entropy. Suck it. Suck it real well, and it makes it all better again. Get what I mean? Simple stuff. Easy. Most people can understand that. Okay, you do the, and then it works really, and everything's better again. That's how that works. Which is literally what I'm talking about. I'm not kidding. It's like, and get rid of cortisol, and get rid of all these stress hormones, get rid of all that, and wouldn't you know it, you happen to do the happy, the getting up right, and living longer, and all the rest of it, right? Why do you think you wouldn't be similar, at least, to the universe? And it's literal because you're built off of it. Physics! Why are you stupid? I just want to know, why wouldn't you think that you'd be doing something similar because you're built out of the same similar stuff? Why don't you think that you're doing the same thing? Or at the least similar? I don't know. Why? There's no reason for sex. Okay. This guy with asexual reproduction. Look at this. I've got too many resources. Yeah, that feels better. It's a lot of problems and too much pressure. I need help. I'm here to help you. Oh, thank you. You get it? Do you understand why I don't like looking at like certain things? Because it's like, this is really simple stuff. Easy stuff. Complicated stuff turns into chaos bullshit stuff. You know what I mean? It usually means fucking intentionally inflicting chaos and disorganization into anything, which is stress and more, and you don't need it at all. Usually you can get things done typically with a much smoother operation that causes a lot more energy and efficiency to occur. But, I do a lot of those kinds of concepts and theories on my YouTube. So I'm going to move on. Because I wanted to talk about it because it's like, remember that whole, like, all the filled 3D? That's the real full 3D dimension that we're in? That's moving in a fourth dimensional because of, entropy stuff, right? Yeah. Right. That's hefty. Sure. It's big. Oh, absolutely. It's actually pretty small. Whatever it's expanding into is massively small compared to what it exists in sight of. You should probably maybe conceptualize that a little bit, right? And if you do, it's like, great. Because honestly, like, that has to move into something. All of that. Even the nothingness, which is like the actual final point that I'm trying to make. It's a technicality existing thing that exists as an infinitesimally, they're infinite, that also is all the big infinite outside. Right? And it's like, it eventually creates with momenta and entropic values, effectively, trying to, because apparently with an infinite, there's still like some difference or something, essentially. It's like, once it's the only thing that exists, well, maybe that's a slight bit off, and it tries to move it over there. That's all it took, apparently. And wouldn't you know it, you get non-existent, but it has potential. Then it has potential, but it's still non-existent. And then we get to gray hole. Gray hole is standard. It's kind of like a black hole, except it's more like a pump in that sense. Some stuff stays there, some stuff doesn't. And that's kind of what starts like the process of getting things to a higher energy value, but also more existing. It moves it around the right way to turn from a potential into it exists, right? This is a non-existent area, gray hole exists, then we get to existing area, right? Simple words to understand. Non-existence is still quite a bit more existing than a nothingness, that kind of weird thing, you know what I mean? So, but in the existence, we get potential. Potential is great. You know, I have potential over here, but right now I exist and I have potential. I have potential and I exist and I'm definitely going to do something. Yeah, well, you know, like, okay. But, like, where and how and any of that. Right? How does that work? And that one's simple, honestly. It's actually really simple. It's moving. So the moment it's moving, it's trying to turn into sort of like getting closer and closer and moving really fast in all these different directions. And then it goes, it's basically stupid dense. I can't do this anymore. And the energy barrier gets tunneled through. We have the start of a membrane. Once you get to the start of a membrane, you'll eventually get to, that's right, a singular one-dimensional singularity point. Once you get that, you end up getting to us. And it keeps going. It takes a fucking exceedingly long time to do that, by the way, because it has to make an infinitely almost dense thing to exist in existing potential. It's a fucking long time. It sucks. If it ever disappears, you know, effectively try and live, because you're not going to make it like happen again for really long. They're just fucking sacrifice whatever you got to do to fucking make something new again, you know, that kind of thing. But otherwise, like, it's not happening again. Especially when it's like that you exist in the third dimension, right? Is more of a stuff that effectively means the nothingness goes, I'll, you know, keep you around. You know, you're definitely more than I am, ever. Like literally, that's the thing it's trying to do. Nothingness is trying to remove itself in that very real context, physics-wise. It doesn't want to. It can't exist. It's the very definition of, what the fuck? I'm nothing. How does that happen? How am I the only... What the fuck is this? Fucking move this over here. But then eventually we get to this, and now we're far more something and far more real and far more existing in all the fucking ways than that will ever be. Right? Which is cool. It's good. It usually means we're pretty solid once that happens. Except, if it ever goes away, then we're pretty screwed, because we have expandatory fields, gravitation, lots of stuff, right? What that means is we get to near infinite, even if it's one single atom. We get to a near infinite. So it takes a really long time. Even once that one little tiny thing pops in, that usually goes back down. You know what I mean? Like, it's starting the formation of an existence of an idea, which is such a weird concept, but it's the equivalent of, like, you know, kind of like a concept, wouldn't you know? It's the formation of an idea. It's a concept, right? That's literally what that is like, it's brainstorming space-time, basically, but it doesn't exist because it's a lot more pressure to go there than it is to go back through the membrane back to where it once was. So, you know, it starts building effectively, and I've talked about that one, and that's the black hole, Into the Black Hole, alright, series, my playlist on YouTube, and a couple other ones about universe theories, hypothesis, stuff like this, which you should really go through. They're actually all really good, and if you don't, you're probably stupid, and you should fucking, like, just deal with being stupid continually, because I'm a dick like that. But if you do it, you're probably going to enjoy it. It's quite entertaining. I'm pretty darn entertaining. But this is the other side of that. It's like, all right, we got that, and then we got this, and we got, what's there? No, see, that's the thing. What is there would also be a bunch of fields, which expands past what is the stuff that we really kind of are. Right, the energy. And, like, that's past that little bigger than what we said earlier is. Right? And, like, even that, massive, right? Then this makes it to near infinite, but it's like it's always expanding. See what I mean? It's like, and that's the concept of an infinite. It's such an odd one, you know. Like, an infinite is, no matter what, bigger. Just always know that, right? So it's like, yes, no, it's this. It doesn't matter. You never reach me. 0.9 repeated. Get over it. You're not ever gonna get to infinite %. Fuck off. My 100% is effectively the same. It's not 100%. Your point fucking... Really? Your 99.9 repeated percent is not the equivalent of 100% of infinite. Deal with that. It's not. It's not infinite. Fuck off. But neither is the universe. It didn't say the universe is infinite, you little fuck up. I said it wasn't. Yeah, I'm not a fuck up. Just because I don't... Hey, look at you. You're arguing for... Oh, point... This fucking 99.9 repeated is definitely going to be infinite percent. 100 of an infinite. You're gonna argue for that? Are you? No, because it's not. You get it? If you get it, then you know it's like, no, it's not one. Fuck off. We know it's not one. We say it's effectively one in a lot of ways, but it's never been one, and it's never going to be one. There you go. But it says on this wiki, I don't give a shit what it says, it never reached an infinite. It has to do an infinite amount of shit to get to that. It didn't magic up a extra little fucking ... infinite amount of 0, then 1 to make it get to the 1 it needs to get to. Shut up about it. Fuck off! No! Yeah, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Those fields go towards that point, but they never reach that point. It'll never hit infinite. It can even get to the membrane, but you, existing inside of it, can. You're that much closer. That's the difference. You are a part of the damn nothingness. That's the difference. Like, the nothing is over there, and the field is totally separate. You, however, have it exist inside of you, below you, and above you. All the different ways that you can really have this thing basically be a part of you. And then you have the nice little vacuum that exists as a clear, obvious showcase of, that's right, that nothingness is there, that membrane's there, and oh, wouldn't you know it, that's why this is going on. That's why you're accelerating. You know, kind of standard stuff. But that's also why all your observations happen to line up with what I'm saying. It's just, we don't like nothingness in our math. We don't like infinites. And it's like, yeah, I don't care. It's technicality there. That's the thing. And it's not really like, it's the worst part about infinites, okay? There are many different types of infinite. One infinite does not in any way equate to all types of infinite. They can't all fit within inside of each other either, just as much as this infinite amount of gluon does not mean an infinite amount of this other fundamental force or any of the rest of it. Just as an infinite nothing is very technicality there, it also means it's definitely not there once this, in fact, anything really started happening. But because it's relative and special relative view of itself relative to us is there, it means we are almost as close to infinitely nothing as it. That's right. Yeah. So it's trying to fill that fucker up, basically. And it'll keep trying. It'll always keep trying. You know? It just takes an exceedingly long period of time. So the moment we happen to start being a thing, everything forms around that. You get it? It's just a weird thing. But no, actually, it's actually pretty cool. I like it. You know? But that's what that is. So, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because it's like, well, Star Wars is interesting. But, you know, like, and so is Star Trek. And a lot of them. But imagine, if you will, they used their force to try and get to the observable universe, and they ended up actually understanding, or the warp drive, that, hey, fucking hell, there's a little bit beyond that. Now do you immediately go, well, it's now infinite, right? It's like, no. Why would you think that? Go from there. Hey, you know what you're... go a little bit over that way. Go a little bit over that way. Go a little bit that way. Go a little bit that way. All the ways. Right? What do you see? Hey, if you got to this, why is it that exists? Can you slow down? Can you speed up a different way? Because even in that, like, hey, I'm faster in light thing, I'm not actually attached to the one that accelerated a little bit faster in their wave function stuff. I'm still attached to my three-dimensional, this wave function stuff. that's accelerating roughly this fast. Okay, that's how that works. It wouldn't actually go to that one. It wouldn't go to that one. That's an entirely different thing. You have to literally cancel out all of the universe's actual acceleration and momentum. Not thermal, because you're thermal. It's directional. You have to go that hard, which means you're going faster than light. Sure, except you can't actually really do that, okay? And you don't actually need to go faster than light. You need to cancel out that. That is that. Or you have to use it to go faster than it is going. Light is in no way indicative of any kind of time bullshit after a while. For us, yes. For others, no. That's the point. So once you end up understanding that part, it's like, okay, so we can accelerate how? Entropy. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, this is my airship vacuum, my vacuum airship, spaceship thing, right? And then I use the faster than light type of thing that's making a vacuum in front of it, right? However, the universe is a lot faster than you think, right? Like, it takes a lot more speed than you think to get faster than the universe's acceleration and already their speed. It's insane. It doesn't matter if you travel faster than light using that, right? And there's no like bending or warping. It's just going into a vacuum area and then using its already there acceleration to effectively create a pressure and a little bit more pressure behind to then go into that. You'll have to go deeper into that on those videos, okay? But point is, this means, oh yeah, no, I can eventually get there, right? After a really long time. It takes a pretty long time. Like, it doesn't matter if you go past the observable. It doesn't matter if you get past like the total like volume of the universe. You still didn't reach it. Like, that's the thing. So you need like way more speed. And I built it to be the definition of super efficient. It takes very little energy to maintain that and continue it, and then make it so that way you travel faster than light. But it doesn't actually accelerate you very much. You are accelerating exactly this amount. It's consistent, but you're always accelerating. In reality, the universe is really just helping you get squeezed to a spot. Which is a bit odd, but it is what it is. As you're going into a vacuum area, right? Which means you're never really accelerating. If you go that distance of acceleration, let's say it was walking pace. Like, you might get to fucking light speed, right? That's not fast enough. You're going way faster than that already. But everything's already traveling that speed around you. Same thing with light, as it's being bent and curved towards you. If you're accelerating, then faster than light, but light's already there with you, that means you are not at the speed that you think you are. You're seeing a curved, blue-shifted area of existence, of observation. Which means you are actually traveling faster than light can technically do this. Not really, because of course it's right there with you. That's special relativity. Okay? However, once you start doing that kind of like knowledge sort of check, it's like, oh wait, what the fuck? I already started faster than this thing. That means it's picking up, and are we slowing down? Kind of both. You're merging a little bit, but then you're also accelerating because of that quantum vacuum pressure, right? And that's why we think, oh, it'll fizzle, right? So once you know about that, it's like, wait. So we have to go faster? You have to go even faster than that. Yeah. That's the stupidest part. It's like, seriously, I'd have to... Yeah, because it's like orbital mechanics. If I want to go to Pluto and then swing back down to, of course, the sun, so that way I can orbit it easier, that's less energy. Right? Now you get it? It's like, yeah, no, I have to go away and then I have to do this. And it's like, yes, no, but that only means I can do this. It's like, how do I get faster than how? You don't. That's theoretically, eventually you could, but like, you're not going to. You can't compress space and time, because like that's the opposite of what this would be. You're still locked into what your thing is. You get what I mean? Right, so like that's there. And it looks like an infinite distance. It's not really. Right? And I can build a bigger vacuum. It doesn't join into it. It's still your vacuum of your relative area. Like, how shitty is that, right? So it's like, the only way to really do it is just to go fucking fast. How you have to do it. There's no mass that's going to help you. Black holes aren't going to, they're still locked to you. Yeah, shocker. They're still locked to you. It's not a way to get out. It's not going to get you anywhere. Portals, wormholes, they're not going to get you there either. It's still just your stuff. Because it'll only connect to your stuff. How the fuck do you go that fast? You don't, really. That's kind of what I'm trying to get across. You can do it, but it's like, you would be able to, but the caveat is not an entire universe worth of energy is required. It's more about the fact that you effectively have to never-endingly, continuously make faster and faster speed somehow. And it's not going to be the equal and opposite. You have to tunnel in a lot of ways. You have to tunnel in a weird way. Like, you have to understand and, end up becoming that guy, the scientist, or that gal, the scientist, that experiments about how it is, and why it is, and when it is, and all these other different little fucking breaking apart and acceleration and more into curvature of those space and times and so on. Which is hard to do. Right? So, yeah, you're going to have to experiment. Yeah, no, it's like you're not going to just, no, you have to literally do. So, interrupting the acceleration. That's all you get. There you go. Yeah, suck it up. You only get acceleration. That's it. You have to match speed. That's the point. Like, if you know anything about orbitals in space, you have to match speed. You're not matching speed. Because, of course, it's also accelerating. And, in fact, it's doing it differently, and it's already faster than you, and it was most likely more efficient than you. Which means you can't accelerate it. So you're in this neck of the woods. It's not very easy to just suddenly do that. So you have to fucking figure out all of that to be able to then do that. Which is why I usually go, what do we want the other way? It's right there, though. It seems, I can... And that's usually what I do. I do the opposite. It's typically, like, in my way of, like, discovering any of that, it's way easier to go backwards. Or sideways. Right? It's like, it's the same thing, it's just over there, and it was doing it this direction, or whatever version of that is, and it's a lot easier, and there's no dimensions. It's still the same. That's the worst part about this. People will go, it's dimensions. Nope. It's the same dimension. It's just not. Same even speed. Distance. That's it. Yeah, it's just distance. Which, like, distance can be overcome. Right? Distance is easily overcome. Speed, not so much. Both ways, much more difficult, but going one way is far easier because, of course, the universe is already accelerating. We'll accelerate you a little bit faster. Literally that. It's like, and I slipped that way, basically, instead of the other way, which is like, I'm actually going to take some of your movement here, and then I'm going to use some of my already on board energy and continuation of that energy to kind of like, and I accelerate a little bit faster by using your acceleration to my advantage. Standard stuff, yeah. So that kind of thing, but it's a lot harder to go one way to match that than it is the other way. So to do that one first if you want to, or sideways, because you'll never. And this is the real truth. You go backwards, you can never get back to where you started. That's gone forever. Okay? You will never get back there. Well, not never, but just be an exceedingly fucking difficult task. Eventually you might figure out a way to do it. I have a couple of ideas, but I'm going to move on because this is already getting pretty long, and so sideways is usually best. You know what I mean? That's typically the easiest way to get it done. But black holes don't help you there. They'll help you with the birth of the universe and kind of figuring out some more of that version of acceleration, for what it's worth. But nothing can get out of it. No, but if I expand space and time, which is not what that is. I'm not doing any expansion. There's nothing there that's expanding. You're gonna have to fuck off. I'm making it less dense. So shut the fuck up. Just imagine how you're gonna look. Honestly, I'm imagining all of you, all those other little faces. That's you guys. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing your faces, like right there. Right. So that expansion is a vacuum. Yeah. No, but it's not. See, that's you right there. I'm gonna argue with you right now. Fucking, it is. That's how. That's your conventional shit. I'm not doing that. I'll never do that. I don't need to. I don't need to curve space and time either. I don't need to eat it. I don't need to do any of that. I just need to go into a vacuum. Vacuum's easy. You know what a vacuum is? It can be defined as acceleration. It can be defined as less dense. It can be defined as many, many things that we happen to use typically on a daily basis. If I want to use acceleration that's already there, well, I have to capture that and then move it around and basically densify it and then move it around that little thing that I'm inside, and that's it. But it's already there. You see what I mean? Like space and time is already there. So if I'm already moving something the right way, and the faster I accelerate, then in fact it actually sends out gravitational waves. This would not be gravitational waves though. This would be information. This is quantum phenomenon stuff. So in reality, it's just making it less dense, and then it goes around, and we go into that. There's no warp here, no gravitational lensing ever really occurred. Nothing with gravity is being done except for kinetic, which would be like tiny masses of electrons, and some nucleuses, which would not be much. It vibrated the right way, basically, But that's the thing. It's like it's not doing anything but moving what's already there around it a little bit easier and faster, and then it just wouldn't you know it, right? So it's like, and wouldn't you know it, it's stood perfectly still to all of us. It's not expanding the other way. It's still. You travel easy through it. But there's no warping, there's no bending, there's no anything with space and time at all, other than you effectively going bzzz the right way. It's not even a joke, it's really what that is. It's bzzz the right way, and it happens to do exactly that. That's it. Captures it with a little bit of fundamental force bullshit, effectively. Because it's all tied. It's electromagnetic, that's gravity, that's nuclear, that kind of thing. If it moves the right way, then it creates its own type of lens, diffract, refract, and more kind of stuff comes in. But it's already there. But all I'm doing is literally just making something that's already there be there, because it's already there. A lot of people don't get that part, especially when it's like, that sounds like warp. That sounds like you're doing exactly what you're saying, which is warp. Except that's not what I'm doing. That's the problem. Warp requires actually changing space and time. I'm not doing any of that. There is no influence on space and time. I'm just moving through it. That's the problem. That's the problem with a lot of people that go, this is what it is! It's like, no, actually it's not. And I know why you want to say that, because, it makes you fucking look better. But it's not. So shut the fuck up. I'm the one that invented this. I know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's the point. It's the concept. There's no warp, there's no bending, there's no nothing. It's just moving through it with literally next to nothing in terms of any friction. That's it. It's creating a little nice, but it's already there, that vacuum. I'm just going into it. I'm not creating it, but I'm creating us being able to get into the vacuum. That's it. That's the problem. And create ourselves as a superfluid. And for us, it looks like nothing really changed. In the universe, we just kind of like go through and we see it as a fisheye lens in the rear. Right? That's it. For everybody else, it looks like we started becoming ghostly and intangible, like It's translucent, then we expand. Right? Standard stuff. But we didn't do that. It just looks that way because that's how, influences, radiate as light, effectively. Through space and time, we see it. So it looked like we expanded, we don't look like that. And that's also the same reason why it's like we look like we went from this big, huge, and then we slowed down and just suddenly, like, we're there, right? The very opposite of warp. Like, we're becoming the very idea of the universe in that sense, right? So, we're just, and hey, I don't have same volume, no change of density, no change of space, no change of anything, really. No change of energy. We're just going that way. Standard shit. The standard that usually makes people angry at me, because I'm that guy. Instead of troll physics, I'm using regular physics, just better than what people probably thought, counterintuitively than what they probably thought would be reasonable to do. It's like, why would I do all that? That sounds an excessive amount of energy. That's insane. I don't need to do that. That's warp, that's wormholes. What the fuck? That's super dangerous too. If you fuck it up, it then collapses and you're dead. Do you get that? Why the hell would I ever want to do that? Some people might be able to do it really well. I don't know. Point is, super dangerous. I would never do it. No, fuck off. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to make it really super safe for me to travel really fast. And by the way, I look invisible and nobody can find me. And I can go through black holes and fucking anything, basically, and it'll never hit me. So why the fuck wouldn't I do that? Why would I want to make a wormhole? What the fuck is this? Why would I want to do any of their stupid shit versus this? You get it? That simple stuff. But I understand why, because it sounds intuitively, logically like it's the right move, except it's not. It takes a fucking exceeding amount of energy to move space and time like that. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do that at all with this. You should really look at those videos, by the way, if you really think I can't do that. But, do that, and then come back, and, let's talk. We're in the video, we're in the little comments, fucking talk about it. You know what I mean? Because otherwise it's like, this is a mute point, I'm not going to do this, it's almost an hour already, so get over it. So, that's what that was, but it's like, that means side to side is easier, by far. And that was way easier to get to with that design, especially when it uses like a car battery worth of electricity to go that fast. It takes like nothing to do it. I don't even have a special skin. It's just doing things the right way for once. But, that's people. You gotta get people, you gotta research all that stuff. Standard shit. It's doable. People will go, like, why are we doing this now? You didn't think about it, you fucking numbnuts. What do you think? You went bravado with it. You went particle smash, boom, I'll figure everything else from that. Not, man, what if we didn't do it that way? What if we made it a little easier on ourselves? What if we didn't do it the massive amount of energy, bravado, masculine, I'm big, strong, big guy? What if we did it like the scalpel way? What if we didn't do the big explosion way? What if we didn't do that way? You know what I mean? What if we did this? No. I don't want to do this anymore. This sucks. Suck my dick and balls, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah.